Oh, look at me. Look at me. What a douche I am. I should maybe pull up the request, huh? That way you guys know what the hell I'm doing here for. No YouTube, I don't want that. YouTube, Yahoo. Very short and sweet. From Victor. Victor writes, "Hi, Victor from Soviet 2.0 Sweden. I would like your recommendation for audiobooks and podcasts. Now, not counting yours, of course. How much does Cappy want?" And I said, for $20 I can do that. He said, and boom, he paid. I think within 15 minutes I'm already making the video because, as you can see, I have to go golfing. I'm going golfing. I'm a better person than you are. These stupid hats actually do help. I'm like, why do I wear a hat? I understand now. Okay, so I put together two lists. I have books and podcasts. The problem is I very rarely read. So my book list is going to be very short. And it's going to be very recent because when I was a kid, when I was in college, they forced you to read books. I've told the story before. In the 4th grade, I think I was 6 book reports behind. And all I did was I took the back of the books and just fully ripped it up, just read it, plagiarized it, wrote it word for word, read the last chapter or two, and then summarized it at the end. My teacher, she had me dead to rights. She said, "Here's what you wrote. Here's what it is. She says, did you copy this?" And I said with a straight face, no. Because she was a bitch. And I hope she's dead of a very painful cancer or currently dying of a very painful cancer because English teachers are evil. And I do mean that. I'm not just saying that. So at a very early age, I was pushed away from books. I don't like reading. I hate reading. And I even don't listen to audiobooks that much because podcasts now exist and it's much more current, recent, and they're much more philosophical. They're much more flowing, they're much more conversational, and I don't like to read. I really don't. So the books are going to be a limited list and recent. So no, I didn't read War and Peace. No, I didn't read whatever other books are out there. But then the podcasts are much more numerous, and I consume a voracious amount of podcasts. I consume about 6 to 10 hours of podcasts a day because I'm always hiking or doing something on my own. And unless I'm recording, I'm usually listening to something. So the books, Economics in One Lesson, Day Bang by Rushdie, you guys know him, Dead Bet in Paraguay by Rushdie, The Way of Men by Jack Donovan, Wealth and Poverty by George Gilder, Pushing Rubber Downhill by Adam Pickett, Corporate Land by Frank Servi, and Game by Roosh. The most notable ones, I would say, you must read Pushing Rubber Downhill. You absolutely must read The Way of Men. That is vital. I may read that again. I did like Dead Bet in Paraguay, although it's not going to be as useful as Game. Game is it's very thorough, and it's accidentally very telling how many hoops men jump for women. If you read that, coming from a presumed person that hates women, it's. But if you're older and you know enough about women or you're married, I won't recommend it. But if you're new or you want to learn to pick up girls, that would be the book you'd go to. I'd say that'd be the most recommended book. But if you're already experienced and a veteran, there's still some use in it to look and read holy shit, this is the fires men jump through to get women. It's sad at the same time too. And that's it. That's from my books. I'm sure I've read some books in the past that I like, but they don't come to me. I mean, before I was paid to do book reviews, I think maybe I read 5 books for pleasure. And it's been so long. I could recommend Lloyd Alexander's The High King Pentology, but it was written for kids, and I read it when I was a kid, so I don't know if I would like it as an adult, or if you want to read fantasy fiction. All right, podcasts. Here they all are. In Our Time. It's BBC, not the dating site for old, decrepit baby boomers. In Our Time with Melvin Bragg. Money Planet with NPR. And a lot of you guys are like, oh my God, and Money Planet's good, I like it. And the only problem is, it's just these basic cookie cutter 20-something intern. Like, hi, and welcome to Money Planet. We got that voice, we all sound the same, we all talk the same. But I do like their insights. Russian Rulers History Podcast. It's a very good one. Not really a lot of practical information there, but it does tell you all about Russia. The History of England podcast, but there are two of them. There's the British History podcast and there's the History of England. And yes, I know there's a difference between England and Britain. You want to go to thehistoryofengland.co.uk. That guy is the one I like more than the British History podcast, because the British History podcast guy is way too flamboyant. He is also gay, but that has nothing to do. It's that he's super flamboyant and he's overly artistic. He starts off good, but then he's like, and he gets props and gimmicks and noise and things. It's like, okay, dude, I just want to know what happened in 1066. That's it. Just tell me about the Battle of Hastings. I don't need you reenact. He LARPs. Oh, he LARPs. He LARPs with extra maple syrup on top of it, and it's painful, so don't even go down that road. Start with thehistoryofengland.co.uk. Stefan Molyneux, Chapin's Inferno, The Beckloff, the Greasy Pole podcast with Adam Piggott and the Great One himself. Push It Rubber Downhill, that's Adam Piggott's. So, did I mention Push It Rubber Downhill? I'm sorry, that's an absolute must read. I forgot to mention that. That is an absolute must read in the book column. He also has a podcast called Pushing Rubber Downhill. Go to his website, Pushing Rubber Downhill. Absolutely mean. Stuff You Missed in History. I'm going to put an asterisk here. If you go to Stuff You Missed in History, it's great, but do not download any episodes where it's the first woman who or the first minority who, because it's too social justice warrior type of women. And I wouldn't say they're full-blown social justice warrior, but they're just, oh my God, and immediately with the programming, it's she was the first woman to do X. Like, I don't care who the first woman was to do X. A guy did it beforehand. Tell me about the first person, male or female, that did X. That's what I want to hear. Or tell me they did one on Bass Reeves. That was a good one. Bass Reeves, the first black marshal. And that was kind of cool, because that was, okay, now that's pretty badass, Bass Reeves. But that one exception, anytime you see a woman who is like, no, done, I'm just done, I don't need to hear any more rah-rah female bullshit. And that's a good quarter to a half. I'd have to go back and look at it again, but it's, pick the ones that like, oh, this notable historic event is not typically put in the history books, so I will listen to that. But it's not even a political agenda. I don't think they have a political agenda. They have a vagina agenda, and it gets really tiring because we get it all the time outside of the podcast. So just skip over those. Anytime you see a woman, skip it. And I'm sorry, girls, terribly sorry. No, you flooded the market with vagina. We have a surplus of vagina. We're sick of vagina. So I would, but still, Stuff You Missed in History podcast, but you don't have to listen to everyone. World Class Bullshitters, I really like that one. If you want to get your weekly gossip of what's going on in the geekery world and you're just sick of politics. The Dick Show is very good. That's got the kind of right balance, politics and e-drama, and if you just want to zone out, it's not, you listen to Molyneux, you'll be contemplating suicide after a while. It's very dark and philosophical. The Dick Show is like, hey, everyone's getting laid. Coach Red Pill, TJ Martinell, Dr. David Perot, and you go safetyphd.com to find him. Small Scale Life. And then the black sheep of the squadron would be Sin Lib Soch. He is racist, just be prepared. But it'd be kind of like listening to a Black Panthers, not the movie, but the group. It'll be it's interesting, pure rage, but do be prepared to be insulted. Like, really? Now, the notable ones, my favorite ones, and keep in mind I listen to all of you. I do go through all of them. In Our Time, that's one of my favorite, because again, that unplugs from politics. I mean, they may talk about historical events, but I like that. Stephen Molyneux is a must, but once you listen to enough of him, you'll get most of the philosophy you need. And then I go and I revisit every once in a while. You can find him on freedomainradio.com. The Greasy Pole I like very much, with Adam Pickett and the Great One himself. They have a great rapport with one another. They kind of play off of each other rather well. What else? The Dick Show I also like very much. You're not gonna. It's not vital. Keep in mind, I'm liking more and more lighthearted stuff. Russian Rulers History Podcast is also a must. He did a really good job with that. Finally, one thing about podcasting, it's kind of like where I want to start a website and podcast. Okay, I need to set up a PayPal account. Okay, well, here's my PayPal account link, and you need to have a PayPal account to donate to me or pay me. And I've tried to tell multiple people who should know. Oh wait, did I mention, speaking of what? Yeah, I mentioned the Beckloff here. Oh, the Beckloff is one of my favorite. I forgot to mention the Beckloff. And this is for you, Chris. Where they will provide a link to PayPal. You can make a PayPal donation. You can pay me via PayPal. And PayPal has two links. I don't know why it is this way, but you could just provide the regular PayPal link, and then someone has to log into PayPal to pay you. Then PayPal also provides you a link, the HTML code, where it provides a link to PayPal, but then you also have the option to pay with a credit card or a debit card, because most people don't have a PayPal account, but most people have credit cards. So this opens up an immense amount. Thousands of times more people can now pay you via PayPal because you've conveniently provided the way for them to pay via credit card. There are other, quote, podcasts that are not MP3s. They don't have an RSS feed. You're not going to find them on Podcast One. Everyone just uploads it to YouTube. And so what I have found, and I consider these podcasts or ways to do podcasts, is you go on YouTube. Let's say you want to search the Battle of Agincourt, all right, and you want to have a documentary on it. What you have to do is you just go YouTube, search Battle of Agincourt, and if you use Firefox or Firefox-based browser, or use any online website that converts YouTube's to MP3, you can download either through the websites or through using software such as Audacity or Goldwave, and having the download extension on your Firefox browser, you could convert YouTube videos to MP3s, is what I'm saying. And so that opens up a ton more things that aren't necessarily podcasts, but any documentary, anything on YouTube, you could convert to an MP3 and start listening to it on your phone or MP3 player. And I'd say a good third of my podcasts that I download podcasts are from YouTube that aren't dedicated podcasts, but it's just shit that I like listening to. Like, I've learned a ton about Soviet and American tank design after World War II. I've learned a ton about fireplane arms races. I've learned a ton about the Cold War. I've learned a ton. Timeline, I noticed that here. Timeline, I think it's a British production. The Timeline documentaries, they don't have MP3s, but you can download their MP4s. You can download the YouTube videos and convert them into MP3s, and you'll learn a ton. So don't limit yourself just to these podcasts. I would also go to YouTube, learn how to convert YouTube videos into MP3s, and it opens up a whole world of, and on anything. Like I downloaded a bunch of YouTube videos on building your own house, because I'll be building a house out in South Dakota. I want to know, okay, what are the do's and the don'ts? I mean, everything that's on YouTube that you don't need to visually see, I don't sit and watch YouTube. I don't know how you guys go, I just sit and watch YouTube. What? Is it on YouTube? How come it's not on YouTube? Because it's on MP3. You can download it, put it on the headphones, and go do something. Oh, I just like to sit and binge. I'm like, fuck. It's like, I like to be mobile. So you can, unless you need to visually see something, anything on YouTube can be downloaded and converted into an MP3. Anyway, so that's it. Those are my lists of the best of. Of course, check out my podcast, the Clary Podcast and the Older Brother Podcast. Check out those channels. And go get all my books. So the links are down in the description below. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.
You're such an asshole!